really big morning on Capitol Hill. General David Petraeus' testimony there this morning getting a lot of buzz, and the general testifying before two closed hearings, one before the House Intel Committee, the other before the Senate Intelligence Committee. And joining me now is Florida Republican Congressman Tom Rooney, who was at this morning's House hearing. Sir, it's good to have you here. Let's start off right out of the gate. What can you tell us? What was elaborated upon about the general's testimony this morning that brings any clarification to you about what happened on September the 11th at the Benghazi consulate?
Well, today, actually, as you know, we also met yesterday with General Clapper and a lot of the other intelligence and FBI and NCTC, as well as Ambassador Kennedy. And that was more of a timeline with the closed-circuit TV and drone video. Really, for hours and hours, we dissected what happened yesterday. Today, it really was more about what General Petraeus came to the Intelligence Committee on September 14th and said at that time versus what ended up happening. And there was a little bit of a disagreement amongst the members of whether or not he was sort of putting out there that it was more of a response to what was happening in Cairo and the video, as opposed to, no, this was a terrorist attack. My takeaway was that, their initial reaction was that it was a response to what was going on in Cairo, but there may have been also other elements of terrorism there, and from there it went to Secretary Rice, who seemed to focus just on the video rather than saying it was a lot of different things. So, I'm kind of in the middle on this in my dissection. I do think that Petraeus did say that there's a lot of things at play here, but once he released that to the administration, they chose to focus primarily on the video and not so much on the other elements. And I really don't know why he did that. It doesn't really make sense to me, but that's pretty much how today went.
Sir, Senator John McCain has called for a Watergate-style investigation into the attack, basically asking for a select committee coming out earlier this week with Senators Ayotte and Graham to say that they aren't going to get enough information through what we're seeing in the testimony of Petraeus, and think that there's an undercurrent here of something else. Do you agree that there needs to be a select committee formed?
Originally, I didn't, because I kind of think that's what our job is on the Intelligence Committee. But I mean, you also got to keep in mind, I heard Senator McCain say that, we have Homeland Security, we have Judiciary, we have Armed Services and Foreign Affairs, and we have Intelligence Committee. So, for the sake of trying to get everybody on the same page without having to constantly call these witnesses over and over again and monopolizing really probably the next year, maybe it is a good idea. But Thomas, my focus on this as a former prosecutor has always been, why did those Americans die, and what could we have done to prevent it? And for me, it all boils down to the security at the two compounds there was grossly inadequate, and it's something that hopefully in the future, how do we improve on that? And we have a lot of improvement to do, because the way that we secured that compound on 9/11, we were only asking for trouble, and trouble came.
When you say grossly inadequate, how do you mean?
Well, basically, we had less than a handful of security there for the ambassador. First of all, I don't know why the ambassador was there on 9/11 to begin with, but that's a whole other story. Second of all, we're relying really on local Libyan militia, who, if there was anything coordinated about the two attacks, the compound and at the annex, is that there was a coordinated absence by the people that were supposed to be protecting us, this being the Libyan militia. They were nowhere to be found. If you watch these videos, it is literally like these people come into the gate, they burn the consulate down, and they start doing more coordinated direct fire on the annex as well. And there is no security there. We are literally on an island, and it's just amazing. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm saying, where is our security? Because it is nowhere to be found. So my recommendation would be for the FBI to look at that, and for the recommendation of the administration in the future for these type of embassies across the world, there has got to be some more guarantee that our ambassadors are going to have the kind of protection that's not some Libyan-style militia that obviously doesn't work.
And Senator, though, when we talk about that, and just so our viewers understand, the onus is on the country where we are, where the embassy is, to help with that security situation. So in this regard, because there are certainly embassies around the world that are better protected, but that protection is offered by the country itself.
That's true, Thomas, but we also, the State Department also has a role in negotiating with the Libyan government. Hey, we appreciate the fact that you are going to try to help with securing the outside of the compound, just like in Washington, D.C. here, the D.C. Metro Police might help. But we're also going to have a detachment of SEALs or Marines or something, because we just need to make sure that our diplomats are protected. That's the kind of thing moving forward, that we cannot just rely on the agreement. And we had an informal agreement with the Libyans that they would provide some kind of assistance. It wasn't enough. I mean, the president says that the buck stops with him and that he did everything he could. My response to that, you may have done everything you could, but it wasn't enough, because our people are dead. And so to do better in the future, we have to, I think, seriously revisit how we protect these compounds in these areas of the world.
Florida Congressman Tom Rooney. Sir, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas.